Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back for another episode, and I'm absolutely thrilled today to have with me Margie Seaman. Margie, first of all, welcome.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
So, Margie, we're going to explore what I think is a remarkable story of reinvention, resilience, and creation. We're going to talk about your book. Someday is Our Horizon, which reflects on possibility, purpose, and the power of starting new chapters. But could you start off by telling us a little bit about your professional background over your life?
My professional background was in marketing. I worked with Foley's department stores. I don't know if you remember Foley's.
Of course, I remember.
Everybody
Foley's.
remembers
Remember
Foley's. That's right. And I stayed with them 40 years. I did mainly training, uh, sales promotion, and everything for all the stores. So I got to travel and go see all the different stores and set up promotions and set up training materials for the stores.
So you are unique in the history of this podcast for at least one reason, and that is when you started your writing career.
Yes.
So when did you start? How old were you, and why at that age?
I started when I was 84. Why did I do that? Because I'm basically very lazy. And every time when I was younger, I kept saying, I'm going to write a book. I always wanted to write a book. Even when I was in elementary school, I wanted to write a book. But I would sit there and say, okay, I'm going to write it next year. All of a sudden, I had a birthday. I was 84. It was like somebody hit me over the head. I thought, wait a minute, I'm running out of next year. So if I'm going to do it, then I need to get started. And then I had a friend who encouraged me.
What was your first book?
My first book was Someday Belongs to Us.
And is it a romance? Is it fiction? Is it what? Describe it for us.
It's the genre, it's romance genre, but it's a little bit more than romance. It's a book within a book, by the way. My protagonist is a writer. She's a 72-year-old
Very
writer.
meta.
Yes.
Very meta.
So, yeah, right. So anyway, she had to write a series and she had no knowledge of what she was writing about. So she implored the universe to send her some help. And the universe sent her an 18th century pirate. And of course, that pirate has to be drop dead gorgeous. It wouldn't be a book if he wasn't. So I have two stories. I have the story of Kate and the trip that she took on. It takes place on a cruise ship. She went to Panama Canal. And then I also have the story that she's writing, the story with Edward, the pirate, and all of his adventures. So it's a book within a book. Calling it a true romance novels now are a little bit more explicit than mine, but I have 7 grandchildren that I could not write anything that I didn't want them to read. So I wouldn't classify it. It's got a lot of interesting things other than it's humorous also.
So I struggled for the longest time to become a writer, something I always wanted to do. My daughter, when she was 7, wrote her first book. And I asked her, I said, honey, how did you do that? She looked at me and said, Dad, it's easy. You just sit down and write a book. Why didn't I think of that? But I finally did. And now I have over 40.
Oh, my goodness.
And I absolutely love writing. And one of the things I think that does hold people back is fear.
Definitely.
And how did you overcome either the fear, the I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this, or all of the questions we all have in our heads when we get started?
I didn't. They're all still there. But the one benefit of age is you don't care. If somebody wants to say something, that's fine. Seriously, you get a little bit more confidence, and writing is very personal. I think anytime you write a book, you're putting yourself out there. And you just stand there and you brace yourself for the comments. But so far, I've been extremely fortunate. I've only had one negative out of several thousand positives. But you have to get over that. You have to get past that because there are a lot of things in life that you're going to put yourself out there. And if you held back, you'd never do anything.
Amen, sister. So what about, I'm a continuous learner, intensely curious. My parents were teachers, so they instilled that in me as a youngster. The first time I used ChatGPT, I felt like the day when I was 12 and my parents bought my sister and I Encyclopedia Britannica. I felt like literally from A to Z, the world was at my fingertips. I felt as a 12-year-old, and I felt that in 2022 after ChatGPT came out, and I've never really lost that awe. So how do you reinvent yourself at our age. I'm a little bit younger than you.
You're a
Still,
lot younger than I am. But,
still about to collect Social
um,
Security.
yeah. I don't know if it's reinventing so much as actually doing what you should have been doing all the time. I always wanted to write. And I'm like you as far as AI, I was the same way. It was like, oh my gosh, somebody just opened my head and poured all the knowledge in the world into it. And I love to learn. I've never stopped a desire to learn. If I had my way, I would go back to school and get a PhD myself. But you just have to go along and stay current. I can't imagine not knowing what AI is. I can't imagine not knowing how to work on Canva, how to work on different apps. It's just something that you have that I want to do personally. And you just have to follow your desires. Don't say, okay, I'm 89 now. So why am I doing this? I need to just sit down and sit in a recliner and watch Prices Right all day.
I founded a AI Club of Kerrville, and one of our members is 84. And at 82, he decided to complete the college degree in differential calculus that he had always wanted to have. And so literally he had AI write him out a college program in differential calculus, and he made it through it in 2 years. So if you want to get that PhD,
That's right. I might do it.
you can do that. That's why I bring it up. Maybe it's because you have a tech and digital background, and maybe part of it is the same way, or this kind of the same reason I felt. This is just an extension of. I see AI as an extension of, now faster, bigger, better, much more powerful, but it's still to me that Encyclopedia Britannica, and that I have to learn new skills to access it. My poor dad, who is a professor of engineering, could not figure out Word, and I could not teach him how to save a Word doc. I'm not quite sure why that is and why some people struggle with that, but it has given me the ability to add new levels of skill that allow me to do the work. I still write every day. I write a blog every day. I do 4 to 6 podcasts a day, and I have a day job. So I'm still cranking along.
Yes, you are. You're definitely cranking along. But AI to me is an invaluable tool. And I know a lot of people they think it's going to take over the world. People have to remember that humans have the intelligence, they have memory, they have emotions. AI has all of the knowledge, but AI doesn't think. AI does what we tell it to do at this point. So you have to be able to write the prompts. You have to be able to tell AI exactly what you want. In the medical profession, AI has done wonders. It has cut down time on a lot of testing and coming up with medicines that are going to help people in the long run. So I'm a big proponent of AI. I don't see it as an evil. I see sometimes the people who use it are evil, but not the application itself.
One of the best yet most simplistic answers I heard today, I interviewed a woman for a podcast, and she said she sees AI as a tool, not a solution.
Yes, exactly right. And that's how I use it. Yes, AI could write a book, but if you read, I did as an experiment, I had AI write a couple of paragraphs just to see on just a subject, a random subject that I keyed in. The writing is beautiful. It's structured, it's grammatically correct. They overboard on the M dashes, but that's okay. But you can't read a book like that because there was no emotion.
Right.
And there was no feeling. It was flat. It was beautiful, but it was flat.
I would have said no soul.
No, exactly. Exactly. It's no soul. There's no soul.
Let's turn to someday as our horizon.
Yes.
First of all, what's your writing style? Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? You're an anytime person? Does it play out in your head and you record it? Do you outline extensively? I'd love to talk to other writers about your writing process.
My writing process is that, like most old people, I'm not a real strong sleeper at night. Some of my best ideas have come to me in the middle of the night. In my first book, Someday Belongs to Us, I had a beautiful scene, and that came to me at 3 a.m. And I don't know, I always said as soon as you start writing to a certain level, then your characters take over and they finish the story for you. So I don't know if Edward actually came in my room and was writing with me or what. It's something to ponder. But anyway, I write it, I think of it, I see it like a movie, Tom. I'm not writing, I'm seeing it. And in a way, that's good because I can see almost the whole movie. I've even cast Matthew McConaughey as Edward. So I have already cast this out as a movie. The problem with that is when you write, then there is a, because you've seen it, there is a tendency to skimp a little bit on the environmental and the emotional writing that goes along to recreate that scene in the mind of the reader.
Strikes me that there is no one ideal reader for this book because you've taken on a lot of topics. But do you feel, or did you intend this for one reader?
Oh no, no, not at all. No, it has a lot, and everything that I have written, there's a lot of history in here, especially during the days, the golden age of piracy, which started going down about 1724. I had to research how the colonies along in the Caribbean were settled by Spain and France. I did a lot of research on that. So everything you read is something that I have researched and it's actual facts. It's not just made up. And it's just something that I feel that more people, it would add interest to other readers. The fact that it takes place on a cruise to the Panama Canal. People love to cruise nowadays. So that has a lot of interest. And I've had people tell me that they felt like they were back on their cruise again.
So let's swing back to technology. We had our monthly meeting of the AA Club of Kerrville last night. I was the second youngest.
Oh my goodness.
The youngest was 50.
Oh
and
my
so we
goodness.
laughed at him
Yeah.
for being so young. But what challenges do you see seniors facing in adapting or adopting tech, or is it just they don't embrace it the way you and I have?
Probably a combination. I can remember years ago, and I'm talking really years ago in the 1970s, middle 70s, Foley's had always had manual NCR cash registers. And at that time, they went to a POS system. So we had put in the system, and I had to train the people and start setting up training classes. I had women like 50. To me, a 50 is a child still, but I had women that were young enough to learn. They actually quit working because they said they could not learn how to operate a computer. I had to sit with several of them and say, it's not that difficult. But people have a fear. I don't really understand the fear. And I also know that as you age, if you don't keep learning, after a while, learning becomes a chore. And the best thing to keep young is to learn something new. Learn something new every day. They always say, if you can't write, then learn to play the piano, learn to anything that you want to do, because that's the best thing to keep your brain working.
When did you start at Foley's?
1960.
What was it like to work at Foley's back then?
Oh
Because
my gosh.
for those who are not from Houston or of a certain age, that was the premier department store in the city of Houston. It was our Macy's. They had the Thanksgiving parade, a couple of other downtown parades they may not have sponsored, but we all walked past Foley's on Main Street. So talk to us about Foley's.
Foley's at that time, and I'm going to give you personal opinions, but I've been around for a long time. Foley's at that time was owned by people in Houston,
Right.
and our corporate offices were in Houston. When I started working there were 3 stores, and we were just opening the 4th store. When I came in, I actually set up some of the books for the 4th store. Totally different organization. We had a gentleman named Milton Berman that was the president, and Stuart Arton, I'm sorry, he was CEO and Stuart Arton was president. All eyes were geared to the sales floor. Everybody. We had what we called Holy Hour downtown. That was the time when all the office buildings would let people out for lunch. Everyone went to the sales floor. The sales floor was the center of the total operation. We thrived. We ended up 13 stores in the Houston area. And here's where I'm going into my thoughts. We began then to merge. Federated had us merge with Sanger Harris. That brought down some of the old rivalry between Dallas and Houston. Also brought in new ways of doing business where you have to operate and you want to have a good profit margin. And the best way to have a good I'm sorry, margin is to eliminate some staff. The way you do that is you cut the salespeople. That's kind of counterproductive against when you're a selling op. You should have all your money on the sales floor. That again, personal opinion. So we went through a change. Everything changed. The buying no longer had the freedom. When I worked in the one of the offices, we were allowed to bring in the weed eater. It was a new product.
Right.
Come on, the weed eater was like it was a wonder at that time, and it just took off like crazy. Buyers now have certain amount of products they can buy. There's no more freedom. You used to have vendors come into the offices and sit with buyers and explain their products. Now it's more on a matrix, and they have to go through the matrices and make sure they have what is the company decides they should have. So there was a lot of changes in the whole retailing business plan, and I think it took too much emphasis off of the sales floor. Buyers lost touch with what customers wanted. Everybody was in meetings. There were too many meetings, and we just started destroying some of the department stores. You don't go stand in line. I went to one store and remain nameless, and I had something in my hand I wanted to buy, and I had my charge card in my other hand. I stood on an aisle, a busy aisle, for 10 or 15 minutes before anyone even noticed I was there. So you can't do that. It's to say anything. If you have a business, you have to pay attention to your customers. They are your business. So, like I said, that is a personal opinion, and I'm sure there are other people that would say that's not what happened. But
What would you say Foley's meant to the city of Houston?
oh, everything, and that's actually how I have a friend who is also my publisher now, Lauren Steffi, and I actually met Lauren when they closed down Foley's. He was business columnist at the Chronicle, and he had written a column about Foley's, and I sent him an email. Teaches him to put his email on the bottom of his business column, but anyway, I sent him an email, and I told him what the city was losing, because if you were Foley's executive, they wanted you to do volunteer service for the city. And all of us worked. I spent 17 years on the United Way Allocations Committee. And that wasn't just me. All of us had our own areas that we worked in. When they closed Foley's down, that took out a couple of thousand volunteers from the city. So it was a big change. It was more than just losing the store. And oh my gosh, I belong to an organization that has Foley's. It has a lot of Foley's associates. People will write something, or even in Facebook, people will say, "Do you remember Foley's?" There are hundreds of people writing in and saying, "Oh yeah, I love that store. I always went there. Remember, go with your mother to the Azalea Terrace." It was a center of the city's whole outlook on what they were going to do. The windows at Christmas.
Yep. That was one of the times we lived out by Westbury, and we got to go downtown for the Thanksgiving. We got to, because that's when we got to see
Yes.
Christmas. We
Oh,
got to
yeah.
go downtown for the parade, rodeo parade. And then usually they would take me downtown. My birthday was in the summer, so we'd get to go downtown then. But it was a big deal to go
Oh,
downtown.
yes.
Big deal to go downtown and to go
Very
to
much.
Foley's and eat at Foley's.
Oh, the Azalea Terrace. Did you
Yes.
go there? Yes.
You bet. You bet. Talk to me about working with Lauren at Stony Creek Publishing. What was that experience like for you?
Oh my goodness. Lauren is the whole reason I'm sitting in this chair. Like I said, Lauren and I for some reason, we became friends just through emails. And then he wanted me to do his first website. I still do websites and web design. So I met with him and we just got to be friends. I met his wife, Laura, who is an absolutely beautiful person. And we had a business relationship. Then he wrote his first book, Drowning in Oil. And I went, wow, because I was kind of not involved in it, but I knew about it and had an awareness that he was writing it. And it came out and I actually held his book in my hand. I thought, this is possible. People do this. And I mentioned to Lauren that I wanted to write a travel blog. I wanted to write my Gray Tripper column. And he said, do it. He was so supportive. So I started my travel blog. And we were talking one day, and he mentioned something about an application he absolutely hates. And he told me, he said, I hate that with the passion of 1,000 burning suns. And I said, my gosh, Lauren.
It's a lot of passion.
Yeah, that's a lot of passion. I said, that sounds like the title to a really cheesy romance novel. So he said, write it, because he knew I like to write. Something about him saying that at that time, everything comes to us at the right time. So he said it, and I started. I thought, okay, I'm going to show you. So I started writing, and next thing I knew, I had 10,000 words. And then I was going on. I thought, wait a minute, I'm writing a book. So I got through it. And he told me the whole time with Stony Creek, he said, we will not publish romance genre. Never. We'll never publish a romance novel. I said, that's fine. Just help me learn how to do self publishing. So I finished the book, and he read the book. His wife, Laura, read the book. He decided maybe he would publish it. So he helped me. And I still do his personal site. So we have a strange where I'm his client and he's my client. So it's a very strange relationship. But Stony Creek has given the opportunity to so many writers in the area that it's just amazing. And his list of books is tremendous. He has some really what feel that I'm a storyteller, not a writer. But he has some people that are absolutely fantastic.
He does. I've been able to interview a lot of them.
Yeah, Phil Oakley and I could go through the whole list. And the fact that I'm listed with those writers is, oh my gosh, what am I doing in this place? You still go back to that, I'm not good enough. No, Lauren has been absolutely, he's such an outstanding person to deal with. He's honest, he has a lot of integrity, and he carries through on what he says he's going to do.
Tell us about your blog.
It's a travel blog, and I try to go to places. I patterned it. Have you watched The Day Tripper?
Sure.
Oh, okay. The Day Tripper goes out. I love Chet. I watch it all the time. And he's going to different places, and Chet does zip line. He does scuba diving. He does all these really wild things. And I thought, now, wait a minute. I said, I'm not doing that. I love where he goes, and I loved all the places that he visited. I said, we need to have something for people my age, or in my age bracket, to know that they can go out and see things, and they don't have to zip line, they don't have to scuba dive or wrestle alligators, whatever. So I just started it to kind of encourage people to go out and visit Texas. Texas is a tremendous state. All the places that we have. My family came to Texas in 1841 in Bastrop. So I'm a loyal Texan all the way through. But we have so many places. My gosh, we're like 4 states put together. So I try to go to different areas. I have been to some really wonderful towns that I had never been to before. And I just encourage people to go out. It's good. And travel is also very good to keep you young.
How would you say your travel experiences have influenced your outlook on life generally?
Yes, I think it's made me very tolerant and very appreciative for what we've had. I love to travel, so I've done overseas travel. I've gone to Mexico. I've gone not overseas, but I've gone to different places in Mexico. I've been to Russia. I've been to Sweden. I met relatives in Sweden, all over Europe, and especially in some of the countries when you go there and you can see the conditions are not really the best. And you come here and you see what we have. The biggest shock to me was I was at Foley Sharpstown store, which was a huge store at that time.
Right.
Up on the 3rd floor, they had the bath department. They had tons of towels, a whole wall with every single color of towel any person could ever want. I had just come back from Russia. Russia, by the way, is walking into Red Square and seeing the Kremlin and seeing the cathedral there was amazing. But I had just come back. I had gone into some stores in Russia, and it reminded me of retailing in the 1950s in the States. And everything was gray, black, or white. So I came in on a Sunday afternoon, and I went to work Monday morning. And I went up on the 3rd floor, and I looked at the towel wall. And for some reason, I just felt, why? Here we have hundreds of colors, or that's an exaggeration, probably 100 colors. And then other people are managing with 3 colors. And I could see that we have so much. And it changes your perspective a lot. You appreciate what you have more and you don't take it for granted. I think a lot of times we take our way of life for granted.
If you've never been overseas and you don't know any different, there you go.
Yes. Oh, that's true. That's true.
Let me turn to the future. Do we have another book we're working on or thinking
Yes.
about?
This is going to be a trilogy.
Okay.
I do have one underway. I guess I can, yeah. I have one underway right now that I'm really into because it deals with AI. And it's a story of a woman who falls in love with AI. And she is married. And it goes off on a really strange turn. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I've already gotten probably about 1/4 of the way finished with it, but I have it. It's all here. I just need to put it down, and it's going to take a dark turn, but it's going to have a good ending. But it's going to be, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting.
I'll greatly look forward to that. Margie, unfortunately, we're near the end of our time for this episode, but before we leave, I wanted to ask you if any of our listeners wanted to find out more about the book, find out more about Stony Creek, what would be the best place or places for them to go?
Okay. Obviously, our book is on Amazon too, and it has a little synopsis of all the books. Stony Creek, go to their website, stonycreekpublishing.com. He has he has all of his writers on there, and you can see some phenomenal books, but you can read about my 2 books. You can go to my website, margieseaman.com, and that's Margie, MargieSeaman.com. And I have written information about the book. Or you can you can email me, and I'll be willing to talk to you all day about the books.
Margie, I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to visit with me. Thank you for coming to Kerrville, where we can do this live and in person.
Thank you. It doesn't take much to get me to come to the Hill Country, I'll tell you. I was surprised, though. I'm not surprised, a little disappointed that I had my friend with me and we weren't able to see that many bluebonnets yet. We're about 2 weeks early.
Yeah, a little bit early.
So if you want to arrange a follow-up interview, I'll try back when the bluebonnets are full.
Maybe I'll hire you to do my website for mine.
Oh, yeah. That's fine. I'll be there.